In the fight against the terrorist group ISIS in Iraq and Syria, US and US-led coalition jets have flown thousands of sorties and dropped tons of munitions, but in doing so, they have tipped their hand to Russian fighter jets that have eagerly stalked them. The skies over Iraq and specifically Syria have really just been a treasure trove for them to see how we operate, Lieutenant General VeraLinn Jamieson said at an Air Force Association briefing hosted by the Mitchell Institute for Aerospace Studies. "Our adversaries are watching us. They are learning from us," said Jamieson, adding that Russia's Air Force cycled most forces through Syria to give them real-world combat experience. During the air campaign in Syria, Russia got a look at the tactics, behaviors, radar, and thermal signatures of the US's top air dominance fighter, the F-22. In the skies over Syria, Russia's top fighter jets came face-to-face with the F-22 and appeared to show it little reverence. Russia's Air Force has gloated over its dominance in such encounters, though that should be taken with a grain of salt. When meeting our partners from the Western Coalition in the air, we always found ourselves on their tails, as the pilots say, which means victory in a dogfight, Russian Aerospace Forces Major Maxim McClellan said. Specifically, McClellan referred to the tactical advantage of pursuing opposition aircraft from the beneficial position of lagging behind, in the opposition's blind spot. US F-22s and Russian Su-35s have had a few close encounters over Syrian airspace but have employed a deconfliction communications line to avoid miscalculations. "We will continue to deconflict with the Russians, but we have no intention to operate in areas that are currently held by the Syrian regime," Felix Jedney, British Army Major General and senior official for the US-led coalition against Daesh. In addition to observing classified flying tactics from the air, Russia could also paint Western fighters and other air assets with ground-based and aerial fire control and search radars. Justin Bronk, an aerial combat analyst at the Royal United Services Institute, said, "The F-22 relies on stealth for its major advantage against Russian jets, which perform similarly, if not better, in traditional confrontations like dogfights. If Russia gained experience tracking the F-22 with infrared search and track radars, as Bronk suggested it might have, it would be very useful stuff. Russia's operating close to the US most likely allowed it to tune its air and land-based sensors to detect all varieties of US and coalition aircraft operating over Syria. As a result, the advantages afforded to planes like the F-22 that utilize stealth, and all US fighter jets that use classified tactics in combat scenarios, may have been eroded. Russia has gained invaluable insights and information with operating in a contested airspace alongside of us in Syria, and they're incorporating lessons learned of actually doing a first away fight," Jamieson said. But as Bronk points out, the observation was most likely mutual, and most likely cut both ways. Whilst Russia is certainly making every use that it can of the opportunity to learn about Western air operations and capabilities in the shared skies over Syria, that process goes both ways, since whatever Russian military aircraft do is done within airspace heavily surveilled by Western assets, Bronk said. Still, as adversaries catch up, the future of US air supremacy becomes less clear. The United States Air Force can and will maintain air supremacy today, Lieutenant General Chris Nolan said at the briefing. "The question is the future.